Hello there, my name's Scott. Today I'm going to be doing a review on the Imotion 2V Plus, which I received from www.e-cigmods.co.uk. Before I start, I must point out I did receive it free of charge for the purpose of conducting a review, but my opinion of the product remains true, honest and accurate as always. Okay, let's go straight ahead and show you what's in the box. Okay, so the Imotion 2V Plus comes in a presentation box, and if you lift up the lid, inside you're going to find a user manual, the Imotion, a 1500 mAh high rate battery, and two of these Vision CE4 clearomisers. I think that's what they're called. Underneath this section you'll also find a charger and a mains adapter. Now unfortunately I can't tell you what material the Imotion is made out of. I can't seem to find that information. Pretty certain it's not going to be stainless steel though, and it's more likely to be brass, which has then been chrome plated. It's also available in black and white, but it's only actually this section of the body which changes colour. The rest of it is still chrome. The Imotion is a big chunky beast and it's pretty heavy as well. And I was really surprised by the size of it, because the photos on the internet, don't sort of give you a real sort of good idea of what the actual size is. To give you a bit of a comparison, I've got a regular size Pro Vari here, and as you can see it's probably about an inch longer, and it's considerably fatter as well. It uses a 510 connection, so that means you can use any atomizer or cartomizer that also has a 510 connection. Around the outside though, you've got this nice deep well, so if you've got one of these sort of things with like the Ego skirt, then they'll screw straight on without any need for an adapter. The battery end cap has plenty of ventilation holes going all the way around it, so if you did happen to have a dodgy battery that was venting gases, then the gases have got somewhere to escape from. And as you screw the end cap into the body, you can see it becomes a little bit more sort of subtle, and you can just sort of make them out there as I go around. Another one there. On the side of the Imotion you have a large LED display, which is obviously going to provide you with information. And on the opposite side of the LED display you're going to find this small button, and this is used to obviously activate the atomizer or the cartomizer. So each time you inhale you're just going to press and hold that down, and it's also used for accessing and navigating your way through the menu. In total there are 6 different options once you enter the menu, and to enter the menu you just need to tap the button quickly 4 times. Once the menu appears on the screen, further singular taps, then cycle your way through the menu, and once you're on the one that you wish to choose, just simply wait a second or two and then you enter its sub-menu. So the first one is to increase the voltage or voltage up, so I'm just going to tap the button quickly 4 times and then just wait a second because I've already got it selected, and then from there I can just tap the button and increase the voltage. It goes from 3 volts up to 6 volts in 0.1 increments, and once you get up to the 6 volts it will automatically go back down to the 3 volts. You can't keep your finger held down on it though, you do need to give it individual taps each time. And then once you've got to the voltage that you want to set it to, just take your finger off and it's now set. The second option is going to be for your voltage down, and it works in pretty much exactly the same way as the first option. So bring up the menu, press it one more time to bring up the voltage down, wait a couple of seconds to enter the sub menu, and then from there you can start tapping the button to decrease the voltage again in 0.1 increments. Once it gets down to 3 volts it will automatically jump up to 6 volts, but unfortunately like the voltage up you can't keep your finger held down on the button and it won't automatically scroll through. Then once you're at the setting that you wish, just take your finger off and it will store the setting for you. The third option in the menu system allows you to actually turn the device off, and obviously this is quite handy if you're going to be carrying it around in your pocket and you're worried about sort of the atomizer accidentally activating. So again, just enter the menu, go to the third option, wait around 2 seconds, give it one more click to off, and again wait around 2 seconds to store that setting. Now each time you press the button nothing's going to activate or fire up. So if you want to obviously turn it back on, again just enter the menu, go to the third setting, wait a couple of seconds, turn it to the on, and again just wait a couple of seconds and allow it to store the setting. The fourth option is quite a handy feature as it lets you see how much battery life you've got remaining. So enter the menu system, go to the fourth option, wait a couple of seconds, and in this case it's let me know that I've got 3.8 volts left in my battery. The fifth option is again quite a handy feature as it's going to give you a resistance reading of the atomizer or the cartomizer that you're using. So enter the menu system, go to the fifth option, wait a couple of seconds, and in this case it's going to let me know that I'm using a 2.5 ohm atomizer. And finally, the sixth option allows you to turn the little LED off, which hopefully you can sort of see lights up each time you press the button now. So if you don't want that to light up, just enter the menu, go to the sixth option, wait a couple of seconds, then select off, again wait a couple of seconds. It's now stored, so each time I press the button, nothing lights up. Okay, so the Imotion 2V Plus comes included with one of these 3.7 volt 1500 mAh rated batteries. So obviously the Imotion uses like a booster circuit to give you those higher voltages. But it can also be used with one of these AW IMR 18650 batteries. They fit in there perfectly and work just as well as the supply battery. So to insert the battery, you need to install the positive end first, which is this end. As you can see, one end is completely flat, that will be your negative, and that is your positive. So that just goes into the body. You then get the battery end cap and screw that into place. And then finally, just attach whatever atomizer or cartomizer you're going to be using. So for this example, I'm going to be using the Vision CE4 that comes included, and it just screws on top like that. Okay, so that is the Imotion 2V Plus. Let's go ahead and see what it vapes like. Okay, so that is the Imotion 2V Plus, and what I'll do now is go ahead and show you in action. Now, normally when I review something that comes out like as a kit with included like atomizers or cartomizers, now I'm going to use those atomizers or cartomizers in the review. If it comes just as like a body only, then I'm going to obviously choose whatever I fancy using at the time. Now, I'm not going to use the Vision CE4s that actually come with the kit to start off with at least, because I want to sort of try and show you something or demonstrate something, and I need to be able to use like an atomizer or cartomizer that's going to be compatible with another device as well, and the Vision CE4s aren't compatible with what I'm going to be using. Now, variable voltage, for those who are not aware of it, never heard of it, the advantage of having a device that uses variable voltage is that it allows you to sort of find your own sort of personal sweet spot. The lower the voltage, then like you're going to get a small amount of sort of vapor production, throat heat and heat from the vapor, and the higher you go up the voltage scale, then like the more vapor you're going to get, the hotter the vapor will be, the stronger the throat heat, etc, etc. So basically, the more volts that you put through it, the hotter the atomizer gets. Then like the more sort of vapor, throat heat, etc, etc. Now I'm going to start off then using obviously the Imotion 2V Plus, and it's currently set at 3 volts. Hopefully you can see that there. Now I'm using a cartomizer tank with a Bogue 510 cartomizer in there, which is reading 2.2 ohms. So this is the Imotion 2V Plus at 3 volts. So as you can see though, bearing in mind it is at its lowest setting of 3 volts, actually not going to get like massive sort of clouds of vapour out of it. Now these sort of devices use what's known as pulse width modulation. There's been a lot of sort of talk about it on YouTube and on the various forums, because basically the devices that use this sort of pulse width modulation, when you set it at 3 volts, because of the way it works and because they've not been tuned accurately or something like that, they tend to actually give a higher output than what you've actually set it to. So normally if I've got like a device like this, which uses this pulse width modulation, if I set it at 3 volts, then I'm getting more like an experience of vaping something at sort of 3.6 volts, for example. And the higher that you go up, so once you go up to the other end of the scale at 6 volts, then it starts to get a little bit more sort of accurate. So like I said, this is at 3 volts at the moment. I'm just going to give you another quick blast. So like I said, not bad vapour. The vapour's very cool though, not a massive amount of sort of throw hit. I'm going to go straight up to 6 volts. So that's the complete opposite end of the scale. So now that's reading at 6 volts. I'll give you another toke. Nothing's changed so far. Nothing's changed so far. Now it's kicked in. So, you know, hopefully you can see, obviously, now you can't sort of tell how hot the vapour's coming through, the sort of throw hit I'm getting. But you can definitely see with the vapour production now, that even though I set this to 6 volts from the 3 volts, it still took a few drags before that 6 volts actually sort of kicks in. And this is where I'll sort of go on to the next stage of my sort of issue with it, I suppose, is what you're going to call it, is that that's not outputting at 6 volts. Now, people are thinking, oh, it's pulse width modulation, so it's probably outputting something like 7.4 volts, but it's not. It's completely and utterly underpowered. Now, I'm going to switch over then to my Pro Vary here. Now, I can't even set this at 6 volts at the moment because of the like the resistance of the atomizer is just a little bit sort of too much, and it's going over the sort of like amp limit. But this is set at it's 5.8 volts. It's actually less or a lower setting than what this is. So this is at 5.8 volts, same atomizer, juice, etc, etc. Don't know if you can hear the difference there as well. Now, I'm very confident with like the Pro Vary, and it is generally sort of regarded as a very sort of accurate sort of piece of equipment. Now, obviously, you may be able to see a slight difference in the 6 volts or 5.8 volts using my Pro Vary compared to the 6 volts using the Imotion. What I can't, obviously, what you obviously can't tell though is the heat of the vapour. This at 5.8 volts even, the heat of the vapour is extremely strong. You know, it's very, very hot. The heat on this at 6 volts is not a great deal different to the 3 volts, to be quite honest. I'm just going to go back to the 6 volts, should I say, sorry. So this is going back to the 6 volts on here now. And it's very cool. Now I'm going to go back to the 3 volts. And because again, sometimes it takes a few goes before it actually sort of kicks into 3 volts. Let's now set 3 volts. And but that is still outputting exactly the same as what it was when it was set to 6 volts. Now it's gone down, so I can tell straight away that it's now gone down to 3 volts, or the lowest setting. For a second there, it actually completely stopped. Now the battery level on this is currently reading at 3.7 volts. Now this will work, excuse me, all the way down to 3.3 volts. So it's still got plenty of sort of like battery life in it really. And but you can tell that it's obviously, for whatever reason, that is affecting, or possibly affecting, the actual output of compared to what you set it to. Now I'm going to switch the battery over now to a different battery. That's obviously the one that comes in the kit. I'm going to switch it over to a AWIMR. And I'm going to redo the settings. It doesn't actually store the settings on this one. if you take the battery out, I mean. So I'm just going to boost this back up to 6 volts. So it's now reading 6 volts. And the first drag I took there, I mean, like, it was a little bit warmer than the 3 volts, but still nothing like the Pro Vary. The second drag was exactly like the Pro Vary. It felt like I'm having 6 volts, you know, put through that cartomizer. Now the vapour is coming through very, very hot indeed, exactly the same as 6 volts on the Pro Vary. Now I'm going to knock it down to 3 volts now, and see if it works properly. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So this is now 3 volts. You can see. It's still outputting at that highest level, even though it's now set to the lowest. Still at the hot end. Now it's just gone down to the lowest setting now. So it's not very good in that sense, really. You know, look, I've tried it in different batteries and all of them seem to be giving me the same results, apart from the AWIMRs. When you set it to the highest setting, you know, after a while, the highest setting does actually come through. But when you change it to a different setting, you have to sort of wait a few drags before that actually changes over to the new setting. And that's happening with every battery, but the AWIMRs are definitely, when you set it to a higher setting, you are noticing that it is actually going to a higher setting. So my advice would be, you know, if you do happen to get one of these, you know, forget about using the battery that comes in the kit. I'm going to assume that it's a battery that comes in the kit that is just not up to the task, and you know, get yourself an AWIMR instead. Okay, so I'm going to get that out of the way, and you know, obviously, for me, it is quite a big sort of flaw, so it is something that needs to be sort of pointed out. Maybe it's just the one that I'm using, maybe everyone else is experiencing it too. I don't know, but I can only tell you about my own sort of personal experiences. Anyway, let's get on to the rest of the review then. So when it is outputting at a decent voltage and the correct voltage, obviously, you know, you're getting plenty of vapour. But you do have to bear in mind that the amount of vapour you're going to get will be very dependent on your own sort of personal setup with regards to what voltage you got it set to, with regards to what sort of atomizer or cartomizer you use, whether you're using a PG based e-liquid or a VG based e-liquid, etc, etc. The battery life on it is actually pretty good. You know, you're getting about, well, based on how much I vape personally, I'm getting a good day and a half worth of use out of it. And so for me, battery life, you know, is very good. But if I can make a battery last me one day, then that's great. If I can make it last me over a day, that's even better. The switch or the button, you know, it's a nice sort of low profile button, activates every single time. Well, I suppose it doesn't really activate every single time. It does activate, but not necessarily always at the right voltage. But whether that's the switch, the button, the electronics, or the battery, I'm not too sure. But I have another little vape anyway. So this is actually getting worse as I'm vaping it now. I've had this for probably around 2 weeks, something like that, and it definitely is sort of getting progressively worse. Now what I'm noticing, which I haven't noticed before and up until I started recording this, is that throughout the inhale, it starts off warm, and it's going cold, and it's going warm, and by the end of it, it's gone completely cold, the vapour. That one's all right. I think I'm just going to go straight onto the scores, to be quite honest, because I don't think, it can't get much worse at the moment. So for the looks, I'm not really bowled over by the looks either. It's the size of it. It's not so much the look, it's the size of it. It's just a bit too big. It's a bit too sort of clunky. It does look a little bit like a dildo, I've got to be honest. I know it's quite similar in looks to other devices out at the moment, but I think the size of it and just the tapered end with these little grooves and that, it does have a bit of a phallic sort of view about it. Moving on to the vapor production and throat hit. I'm going to give it my average scores of 8 out of 10 still, because it is going to be quite dependent on your own sort of personal setup with regards to what voltage you got it at, whether it is actually outputting at a decent voltage, what sort of atomizer or cartomizer you're using, etc. So I give those my average scores still, because when it does work, you know, you're still getting plenty of vapor out of it. The battery life, I'll give it a 10 out of 10 for the battery life. If I can make a battery last me one day, that's great. If I can make a battery last me one day, that's great. If I can make a battery last me over a day, then that's excellent. So that's going to be a 10 out of 10. For the switch or the button, like I said, I'm not too sure what's actually causing the issue here, whether it's the battery, the electronics, the switch, the button, or just me maybe, I don't know. But as far as I can tell, the button works fine. You know, it fires up. Apart from that one time during this review, that was the first time I've ever pressed it and nothing's actually happened at all. Obviously, it does have a main on-off feature as well, so you've got no chance of it going off in your pocket. But I'm really not too sure what to score this, to be quite honest. Like I said, I don't know if that's maybe the switch or something is actually causing the problem. Who knows? But I'll give it a 7, just to sort of err on the side of caution. You know, please don't just take my review for granted. I know it's probably not a very glowing review. I've had obviously a few problems and it seems to be getting worse the more I'm using it. That may just be me. I might just have a dodgy one myself. You know, go and watch as many reviews as you can. I'm sure other people are going to have a very different opinion to me. You know, so like I say, you know, don't just take my word for granted. If you did fancy trying one out for yourself, go along to www.ecigmods.co.uk. Thank you very much for watching, and also come along and visit my website at www.ecig-reviews.com. That's e-cig-reviews.com. Cheers guys, happy vaping. See you later.